I'm Amanda Rosenburg, and that's going to be a hard act to follow because I am the first English-speaking presenter, and this is my first time in Italy, so trying to speak Italian probably wouldn't have gone over very well, and you would all be very confused. So I'm Amanda Rosenburg. I am a lead researcher for Google EDU, and a lot of the times I get the question, what does that mean? What do you research? So I'm going to talk about what I do because I'm super excited about our collaboration and the things that we can do together going forward. So why research? So when it comes to my team, we are consistently talking to teachers and students and administrators and parents and grandparents and anyone within that ecosystem. I actually, as a researcher, thought to myself the other day, I wonder, in my tenure at Google, how many teachers have I talked to? And I'm closing in on close to 1 million voices that have actually impacted the development of our products. So when we do research, we look at the themes of the landscape. And as many of you know, education really didn't move very fast up until a few years ago when it was like all technology, everyone on board, and it just moved quickly. So my team has had to go into the field and figure out what it is that you need to actually be successful in the classroom, and how can we bring that to you. So that brings me to my second point, your future and immediate needs. So when you're thinking about what's going to happen in the future, how is AI going to evolve, and how can I bring that into my classroom, really looking forward and trying to fill those gaps and anticipate what that looks like. Then we go into the classroom and we often see things in action, and that's when we get really excited because that's when we find bugs or students figuring out how to get around the system, and we actually sit down and fix those things in the moment to make sure that they're not going to happen anymore. So as you see, there's a very close collaboration there. And then finally, which is what you guys have been doing, learning impact and the impact of the actual implementation of the tool. So, as I said earlier, part of my team's responsibility is to design for everyone. It's not that, big of a task, right? So as we think about our users, we have to think about the tools that they use, how they access them, and what those goals are. And because we have to learn from a lot of people, we look to thought leaders like this group in helping us define what comes next. So when we do that, we try really hard to make sure that we're putting the user first. It's about you and how well things are going, not about us and our business first. Then, how do we keep things efficient? How do we save teachers time? How do we open up space for you to do the things that are really, really important? And that's helping your students get to that next level. And then finally, by doing that, we're building better products for you, your students, and just overall. Sorry. As I was saying, we build for pretty much everyone. And what that looks like is a full cycle of talking to educators, administrators, and students. We start at the beginning on a kickoff where we all come together, and I'm super excited because I have a feeling that we'll be doing this with this group where we go, okay, we have these tools, but what comes next? Take all the constraints out and think blue sky. What would that new innovation be? And we sit at a table and we brainstorm for hours. And then we build mocks and prototypes, and we come back and we test it. And it's a super exciting moment because we're actually seeing the evolution of the technology. Then we go into detailed designs. We test that with educators. Our engineers build. Then we test that with educators again. We bring it into the field, test it with educators, and then we launch, which is where you guys are at with Gemini right now. So for us, future development is rarely a straight line. As you saw, it kind of like kickoff to end, but really there's a lot of cycles in there. And that's where doing a close collaboration with teachers like yourself is really important. Because there are some times that we'll build something and we'll be like, okay, this isn't testing really well. Let's go back to the educators that gave us the idea. What are we actually missing here? And then they'll help us refine and get it right. So I'm going to skip the next few slides because Mary's going to go over this briefly. But I think the most important one here is the support implementation, which is where your pilot is currently. What we usually do at the end of a development life cycle is we track the launch metrics, figure out how much usage it has, where users are dropping off, where that friction can be. And then we go out and we figure out where teacher training needs to happen to support teachers. And then we dive into the research to understand the impact. And that's where this study is really, really exciting, because we're going to take that and go to a next phase and figure out how big that impact is. And as we're moving into that next phase, what we'll be doing from the Google side is closely collaborating with you, not just with this research, but to help us define the next wave of AI and what that looks like. So we have tons of opportunities. These are some of them. Sprints and ideations. We love coming to schools and visiting, seeing how students act in the classroom, seeing how teachers manage. We have our pilot schools, and then we do testing of new features. And with that said, if you're interested in having a voice in our next wave of development, please take a moment and sign our form. What we'll be doing is reaching out to you as our research evolves, and we'll be bringing you into the product development.